So in this video I want to explore the idea of questioning authority. Now this particular video has got me and a police officer in it, but the sort of principles behind this apply to everybody in all relationships that you have, because there's so much going on in terms of authority. People you can encounter authority in the form of all your relationships with your parents, your friends, your children, and authority figures, more obvious ones like the police, and the court system, of course. So I'd like to analyse the bit of footage that I'm about to put out here, and see if we can learn from it, and I can share ideas with you that can be helpful. One of the principal ideas that I learned from someone called the anti-terrorist, who's not active on YouTube anymore, is that the master asks the question, the slave answers. And the reason that is because when the person asks a question, he or she is usually loading a bunch of assumptions into that question, and we're going to have a look at that now in the context of this next video. Now, just to put it into context, I'm standing in Leicester Square outside M&M's store, which is a ridiculous place, really, as far as I'm concerned. And there were people walking out with bags full of M&Ms. And amongst other things I was joking around about it. They had like a little 3-year-old coming out with a whole bag of M&Ms, and I was saying things like, "Oh my God, look at these junkies, even at that age," or something like that, or maybe speaking to their parents about it, whatever it was. At some stage, these two guys come along, they've been called there, and this is what they had to say.
2 6-year-old children, is that correct?
Shouting at a 6-year-old?
2 6-year-old children.
Right. Firstly, I don't regard as what I'm saying as shouting.
Okay, so my chances are very, very low that I'm going to be able to win the game, because I haven't meditated, you see. So my first error was when they came up to me, not to say just straight away, "I need to count to 30. It's a very powerful and quite often a very disarming technique, but I didn't do that. So you'll see just now that I already started relating to his question and kind of denied it. And then I sort of got back on track and started asking him questions. So he said, have you shouted at, did you or did you not shout at these young children, 6-year-olds, right? And in those questions are several assumptions. Number one, that he and I know what shouting is, and we agree what it is. Number two, that I should even talk to him at all, or relate to him in any way. Number three, that it's a yes or no answer. He's again it's just more of a case of like putting me into the false choice of yes and no. And number four, is it a crime to do that? So I could have asked those type of questions, and I did actually, you'll see, eventually get back on track. Or you can ask a completely left field question like, what's your favourite colour? But to answer the question in any way, you've already lost the game to an extent. You can kind of rescue yourself, as you'll see, I kind of do. But ultimately, I lost the game, and I lost it quite a few times here.
What is shouting? When you say shouting?
With a microphone.
Right, so speaking with amplification to a child, is that what you're saying? That's what I did? Is that a crime? Is that a crime?
I've asked him a question back now. I've said, is it a crime? And you can see just for a split second, I slowed it down, he kind of has this sort of, moment. It looks like he's having this moment of like, computer says no, because it's not a crime. If it was a crime to shout at children, even though I wasn't shouting, then I think a lot of us would be in jail right now or fined, because most parents shout at their children at some stage, and many teachers shout at children, and other children shout at children, etc., etc. So instead of answering that question, he's been trained to ask the question. So he just asked me another question.
What were you saying? That's what
I don't remember.
You don't remember what you said?
I speak to hundreds and
Sorry,
hundreds of
do you know what? I can't even talk to you.
Sorry.
So once again, he's asked me the question, and I failed again because I didn't count to 30, and I answered his question. He said, "What did you say?" So why would I answer that question? If you think about it, if somebody else came up to me and started quizzing me as if I'd done something wrong and saying me, what did I say to somebody else, I would just tell them to mind their own business. But I fell for it, and I said I don't remember. So I answered the question, so I've already lost again.
You're absolutely
I would
right.
love to be an actor,
apologise.
but I'm not. So
I apologise. Well, we're all
that's
actors.
that's what I'm wearing a uniform. I'm doing
You
another
are an
job,
actor.
innit? Actor.
You're an actor in uniform, aren't
You're
you?
an actor as well?
You're an acting police officer.
Acting police officer.
Aren't you?
Okay. I like to think
You know,
I am a police officer.
Yeah.
So there's some delusion, which is a very common delusion. It's not just him, where he doesn't realise that he's actually acting, is pretending to be someone in a role, and he's not actually a police officer. That's just some kind of idea that someone made up, right? But he likes to think that he is, and doesn't realise that he's acting.
But you're acting as a police officer.
Yeah.
It's all an act, just like acting solicitors, acting barristers. It's all an act.
Okay.
You're acting on behalf of the Crown, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you're behaving a certain way.
And
Acting.
are you working for somebody as well?
Am I working for somebody?
Yeah.
I try not to work for anybody. Who wants to work for anybody?
Oh, I'm working for someone.
Yeah, I know.
That's what we just
I know, and I'm worried about who you work
All right,
for.
anyway, we need to sort this issue out.
Yeah.
So apologies for the bell noise. That's a hideous noise that goes off every hour in Leicester Square. Some corporate thing going off. It's absolutely, and it's so ironic because he's been called because I've been using the megaphone, which is nothing compared to that bell, and we can't even talk because of that bell's noise that goes on every single hour, which is kind of ironic.
So I'm saying, is it
People getting offended. That's the reason why we're here.
So this is a topic for another whole video. This whole idea that the police are being called because someone got offended is ridiculous on several levels. Firstly, nobody has the right to initiate violence against someone else just because they got offended, in my opinion. If you say something to me, or my kids or my wife say something to me that's offensive, that I take offence to, I haven't got a right to be violent towards them, not in my idea of how the world works. So therefore, the policeman has no right to use the force of the law, which is hugely violent, to get involved when someone gets offended. Now, they may have a legal right to get involved, and it's fine if they come and they just sort of trying to create just make peace, that's fine. But this ridiculous idea that I'm responsible for somebody else taking offence. Offence is taken. I'll make another video about that some other time. But so he says we're here because someone got offended. Go back to those people and tell them to pull themselves together.
Oh, right.
People weren't getting offended.
What did I say?
Sorry? That you were druggies and stuff like that to a 6-year-old.
I know. I was just saying that they're taking narcotics in there.
So which is
Sugar is a
narcotics, is that drug?
Sugar, caffeine. These are drugs.
Were you saying that to a 6-year-old?
No. I'm just speaking in general. But yeah, am I not allowed to say that they're taking narcotics in there?
we were told you directed it at two.
Oh no, I didn't go up to a child. But
That's what we were told.
Yeah,
That's
right.
why I'm having this conversation with you.
Right.
Now, if I'd have counted to 30 seconds earlier on, then this whole conversation would have been unnecessary. I wouldn't have had the conversation because I would have been asking him questions, and eventually he would have broken, and that would have been the end of the conversation. But unfortunately, I lost it, and I just got completely drawn into all his assumptions.
So you're saying you never did
Well,
that?
I'm just saying. I'm just really confused about you're here because what crime are you investigating?
That you're shouting at 2-year-old,
Right.
6-year-old kids.
I'm shouting.
Yes.
I'm using amplification. Yeah?
Yes. So
I'm
for the
talking with
6-year-old.
amplification. Yeah. Is it an offence to use amplification towards anybody? Is there any age? Or is it what I'm saying?
At a certain level, as this gentleman was trying to tell you, when it's exceeding a certain level,
What
it
about
becomes
this noise?
Sorry, I can't hear what you're saying.
What about
Sorry,
this
I
noise?
can't understand what you're saying.
What about this noise?
What noise?
The noise here?
So here he tries another tactic of being kind of sarcastic.
What sound is it
It's
making?
hugely noisy.
Is he saying narcotics? You're using narcotics? Is that what he's saying to me?
Is it volume or is it the words?
Wait, so it's a bit both, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Why do you keep looking down there? You're trying to get a public
I'm
reaction or
making-
something
no,
like
I'm
that?
making sure
Oh,
that
sorry,
it's
I thought you were trying to get a public reaction.
No, I'm not trying to
No?
get any public
Okay,
reaction.
all right,
It's fine.
okay.
We're talking just...
So again, he's asked me a question, am I trying to get public reaction, which wasn't the case. But again, he's now assuming that that it's wrong for me to get a public reaction, that I should even answer him, I should even engage with him at all, and I just answer the question. Again, I make a mistake and answer the question. All I needed to do was to ask him a question. I could have asked him any question. I could have asked him a question about what he just asked me. I could have said to him, sorry, is it against the law for me to get a public reaction? Or alternatively, I could have just asked him a completely left field question like, what star sign are you? But instead, I answered his question and made that same mistake again.
Because what I'm finding here is I'm now finding myself like embroiled in some kind of conversation with you, and I'm not happy with my performance. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to count to 30, just to kind of like as a meditation practice, because I don't want to get into a kind of argumentative type of discussion with you. I just want to have like a man-to-man, human-to-human chat. Otherwise, I don't really want to engage with a police officer. See what I'm saying? Because I'm free to go.
I know what you're saying.
Well, am I free to go?
So eventually I remember that I need to meditate, and I say to him, you know, I'm going to stop for 30 seconds. And then it occurs to me that I need to ask him, am I free to go? Because I actually was ready to go anyway at that stage. But I had lost by answering all the questions anyway, so at that stage it was all right to go. And I asked him, am I free to go? That's a very, very good question to ask a police officer at any moment. Because if they say yes, then you just go. And if you say no, then you keep asking them, well, why? What right have you got to keep me here?
Well, yeah. That'd be like the solution. That solves the problem, wouldn't it?
Well,
yeah, that would be the problem.
I was actually about to go because I'm just chatting with this guy here.
Okay. Have you got any plans to return?
What's that?
Have you got any plans to return?
So, sorry to harp on and go on and on about this, but it's hard. You have to practice this a lot because he's been trained to keep on, you know, getting me back into his world. So he then asked me, like, you know, what are your plans to return? It's like if someone on the street came up to me and asked me what my plans were for this evening, I'd tell them to go away, right? But for him, I answered him. And what I needed to have done is asked him a question. Say, or, you know, I could have sort of made a laugh of it by saying, you want to know about my plans tonight? What are your plans tonight, you know, or whatever. But no, I answered the question.
Yeah, but not any specific plans to return right here tonight. I've got lots of other places to go to and make fun of.
Okay, make fun of.
Yeah,
right.
I'm making fun of M&Ms.
M&Ms.
Yeah, because I think it's a terrible product. What do you think of it? Selling sugary products to children.
That's beside. At the end of the day, it's a business they're running their business.
Oh, does that make it okay that they're selling?
Sorry?
Does that make it okay that they're selling drugs?
Are you trying to ask me political questions? Is that what you're trying to do?
No, I'm asking you a question.
That's what it seems like to me.
What's a political question? I'm
That's
asking you a moral question.
I thought you were going to carry.
A moral question.
Can you count to 30? You were saying.
Oh yeah.
So he's asked me, is that a political question? And I still haven't counted to 30, and then that classic moment where he asked me to count to 30. It's really funny.
Right.
Can you count line? Can you do it backwards? I think it's been 30 seconds now, isn't it? Huh? So, because we've asked you to account for your actions, you're entitled to a copy of a stopping account. You sure?
Yeah.
No problem. No.
You sure?
Thank you. Lovely to meet you. Have a great day. Thank you. Thanks for being
What was your YouTube channel?
Social Experimentalist.